Trauma can make you automatically assume there's something wrong with me rather than there's something wrong with this situation. And we can understand this really clearly by the concept of neuroception. So neuroception is our inbuilt alarm system. It's how we detect if places, events, or people are safe, dangerous, or life-threatening. Now we know following chronic and traumatic stress that we can have heightened neuroception where we may become oversensitized to cues of threat. And so we find ourselves responding with ongoing anxiety, agitation, and hypervigilance, as if we can stay in control in that way. But the other thing that can happen with neuroception that we don't talk about as much is where we may be not so good at reading cues of other people's behaviour and immediately internalise the blame ourselves, taking on everything as our own fault. And this leaves us in a chronic state of shame, which we know maps to the dorsal vagal state of shutdown. Now you can think of this a little bit like my trusty telescope here, especially if you support other people, where you might look at them through this larger lens and see them with compassion and understanding. And as we get to understand people's behaviour through the lens of the nervous system, one thing that can tend to happen is that because we have empathy, we might excuse their behaviour. And when that happens, we often take on the blame or need to adjust our own behaviour or environment or schedule to accommodate for that. So let's just say you're a practitioner or you have a business and you have a client who repetitively cancels on you last minute. So at first you say, that's okay, but then over time you find that it continues to happen and you blame yourself for this. So it's almost like you're looking at yourself through this smaller lens of the telescope with no compassion. You're blaming yourself for not being strong, not having better business strategies, for letting yourself get walked over, or you continually absorb the blame and say, that's okay. You might have a client who repetitively turns up late and they tell you that they've been having a hard time. And so the empathetic part of you that wants to have compassion for them excuses that behaviour, while at the same time you internalise that you're falling short when you don't have enough time for the rest of your clients. What we need to do is look at how we can balance this telescope out a little more. So although we have an understanding of these behaviours and we can still care, it's not that we're giving fool's compassion to other people. We are still able to have wise discernment, and at the same time, we're bringing more self-compassion towards ourselves for where we might be having a hard time. And this is why with any type of nervous system work, we can think of this like having two wings, just like a bird. So the first wing is the wing of insight and awareness, where we can clearly see what's happening, not just with ourselves and the ways we may be responding that are automatic or reactive, but also to have a deep insight into other people that we are either working with as clients or in relationship with personally. The second wing is about this compassion. And what we want to make sure is that the compassion that we have towards others, because we understand their behaviours from a nervous system point of view, that it doesn't let them off the hook, or that compassion doesn't cause harm towards ourselves. But it's also getting the balance right where we don't hold ourselves to a standard that's impossibly high and look at ourselves through that narrow lens, because we too deserve that self-compassion, and we learn to integrate both wings into our personal and our professional work. And in that way, we cultivate wisdom to take care of others, but to also take care of our own nervous system alongside theirs. If this is something you'd like to learn more about, I'll pop the details below of my upcoming trainings.